We must also acknowledge the impact of the digital divide on teaching and learning. The evidence suggests that those on a low income or with low levels of literacy are not motivated to learn how to use digital technologies. They don't have role models or examples of the benefits of using technology to inspire or guide them. ONS 2019. This is why it's important that, just as schools work to develop the literacy levels of all students to give them good life chances, it is our duty to teach good digital literacy or fluency skills in order to promote equality and access to employment opportunities, as well as access to essential digital services in later life. Whilst ICT and computing teachers are likely to be very aware of the range of skills that students have or lack, the fact that most other subjects are not taught in classes with computers or digital devices in most UK schools means that other subject teachers may not have it on their radar. It is important to detach from the idea of digital natives so that as teachers we can take responsibility and teach students digital processes from scratch as we would do with other content in our curriculum areas. Research shows that the digital divide mirrors economic and social divides. Kian et al. 2013, ONS 2019. There's been a wave of support for tackling the first order digital divide by providing devices and increased data allowances to disadvantaged students during the COVID pandemic. This has been a valuable resource to families as an emergency response to COVID to support emergency remote learning. However, focusing attention on the lack of devices and broadband is an outdated approach to tackling the digital divide. The essential digital skills trainings, in line with government policy, DfE 2018, attempt to bridge the second order divide. However, if our aim is to increase opportunities for all, then it is essential that we address the third order divide and look at the impact on long-term outcomes. Kian et al. 2013, Sherda et al. 2017. We must consider the digital divide when designing curricula to fit our pedagogical aims, not only to establish whether our students will be able to access the online learning elements, first and second order divide, but also whether we are teaching them skills that will lead to long-term tangible benefits in their lives, third order divide. Whilst the impact of policy around first and second order divide is tangible, for example, students are able to complete remote learning tasks set for them during the COVID lockdown, examining the third order divide and lifelong tangible outcomes of digital access would be a much more meaningful way to measure the digital divide. For if we're not measuring the benefits of digital access and the impact of not having it on life outcomes, then we cannot know the full implications. It is also imperative that further research into this area is carried out as, without adequate data, it's impossible to have adequate policies in place to tackle the divide. Kian et al. 2013, Sherda et al. 2017. In reference to the national curriculum, Policy 2020 comments that digital literacy should be taught as a cross-curricular subject. Whilst in my school we do teach some elements of digital literacy through PSHE, my experience with my form group, who I've taught since year 7 and now in year 10, is that the content we teach within the PSHE curriculum around digital skills is limited. The resources that I've taught so far have all had a strong focus on mental health and well-being. For example, how to deal with online bullying, negative impacts of social media, the legalities of sending inappropriate images online, mental health websites and online services for young people. Whilst these are all relevant to young people, Prince's Trust 2016, Royal Society for Public Health 2017, there are clearly gaps in terms of digital fluency teaching opportunities. I would also argue that 1 hour per fortnight, our PSHE allocation, in addition to morning registration, 15 minutes per day, where we can fit in small pieces of taught content in addition to doing the register, giving notices, attending assembly once a week and completing other registration time tasks, is not sufficient to promote digital fluency in all students, particularly when alongside the rest of the PSHE curriculum. Miller and Bartlett 2012 assert that young people cannot differentiate between reliable sources online and misinformation. It could be argued that this is the responsibility of all teachers and should be added to the Teachers' Standards, DfE 2011, just as it is the responsibility of all teachers to teach traditional literacy, whatever their subject. This would support Miller and Bartlett 2012 and Polizzi 2020 in their aspirations for cross-curricular responsibility for digital literacy. Prensky 2011 suggests there may be limitations on digital collaborative learning due to the knowledge-based curriculum and examinations. Similarly, Grzyzinska and Pountney found that this was a main concern of teachers when working on digital literacy. Quote, "In terms of teaching digital literacy, the ultimate question we constantly need to deal with is this going to help the students when they get to an exam? Because what I would like to see happening is the fostering of a community, personal growth, etc. But most of the time it's about having to teach for an exam." Unquote. Grzyzinska and Pountney 2013, page 31. It must also be noted that there is also a digital divide in terms of the capacity of individual schools to provide their students with digital devices and access. For example, in my school, computer room availability for lessons other than computing is very limited. Wi-Fi is only available to staff and does not work in all areas of the school. No student Wi-Fi is available, so students are not able to use their own devices, and there are no class sets of devices. If we are to equip students for the world and the workplace, DfE 2018, we need a vast amount more access to technology. This will not happen unless policies and funding are put in place to support this. Where in some contexts every student has access to a device in every lesson, for example in iPad schools, and in others like mine they might have a few lessons a week where they use a device. Now, as we have seen, digital is not always better. Bain 2015, EEF 2019. Learning and collaborating on a device will not be inherently better than doing small group work without devices in class. However, if the devices are not available, then the teacher, such as myself, is limited as to what tools they use, and this could have negative implications on learning outcomes.